Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the English Podcast, your go-to place for everything about learning English in a fun and simple way. I'm Adam, and I'm so happy to be here with all of you today. Whether you're just starting to learn English or you've been practicing for a while, we're here to help you take your skills to the next level. And as always, I'm joined by my amazing co-host, Julia.
Hi everyone, it's so great to be here. I'm Julia, and like Adam said, we are so excited about today's topic. We know that many of you listening might not have access to a teacher, or maybe you can't afford to take expensive classes. But guess what? That's okay. You can still learn English all by yourself, and we're here to show you how.
That's right, Julia. Learning English without a teacher might sound like a big challenge at first, but it's not impossible. In fact, self-learning can be very rewarding because you're in control of your own journey. You get to decide what to learn, when to learn, and how to learn. It's all up to you.
And you know what? Many people around the world have successfully learned English on their own. They've used creative ways, helpful tools, and most importantly, they've stayed motivated. So, if they can do it, you can too.
So, why is this topic so important? Well, we live in a world where English is everywhere. It's the language of travel, work, technology, and even friendships. But not everyone has the chance to sit in a classroom with a teacher. Some people live in places where English classes are not available. Others might have jobs or family responsibilities that make it hard to attend regular lessons. And let's be honest, private teachers and language schools can be very expensive.
Exactly, Adam. But the good news is that learning English doesn't have to depend on having a teacher. With the right mindset, tools, and habits, anyone can learn English on their own. And that's what this episode is all about. Helping you discover those tools and habits so that you can start your journey to becoming a confident English speaker.
We're going to give you tips, resources, and ideas that are simple, effective, and easy to follow. Whether you have 10 minutes a day or an hour to practice, there's always something you can do to improve. And the best part? You can learn at your own pace in a way that works for you.
So by the end of this episode, you'll have a clear idea of how to start or continue learning English without a teacher. We're going to show you that it's possible, it's fun, and it's something you can do right now.
Let me ask you this. Have you ever thought about learning English without a teacher? Maybe you've tried, but you didn't know where to start. Or maybe you think it's too difficult or confusing. Well, don't worry. We're here to guide you step by step.
Think about this. What's stopping you from learning English today? Is it time? Is it resources? Or maybe it's just fear of making mistakes? Whatever it is, we're here to break those barriers and help you feel confident and excited about learning on your own.
Here's a challenge for you, our listeners. By the end of this episode, we want you to take the first step in your self-learning journey. It could be finding a new app, writing down a daily goal, or even practicing a few sentences in English. Are you ready? Let's get started.
So, grab a notebook, a pen, and maybe a cup of tea or coffee. Sit back, relax, and let's dive into the amazing world of learning English on your own. Trust us, it's going to be fun and rewarding.
And as always, don't forget to share your thoughts, questions, or experiences with us. We love hearing from you, and your journey inspires us to keep creating content just for you. Now, let's get started. All right, now let's talk about why self-learning can be so effective, especially for learning English. You know, one of the biggest advantages of self-learning is that it gives you complete control over your schedule. Think about it. When you're in a traditional classroom or working with a teacher, you often have to follow their timetable. Maybe you have to wake up early for a morning class or rush to a lesson after work or school. But when you're learning on your own, none of that matters. You can decide the time that works best for you. If you're a morning person, you can study with your coffee at sunrise. If you're more active at night, you can dive into English lessons before bed. The flexibility is amazing, and it makes learning so much easier to fit into your daily life.
Yes, Adam. And I think another fantastic advantage is being able to learn at your own pace. Let's be honest, we've all been in situations where a class feels either too fast or too slow. When you're learning in a group, Sometimes the teacher moves on before you're ready, and other times, you're waiting for others to catch up. But with self-learning, you can go as quickly or as slowly as you need. You can repeat lessons or exercises as many times as you want until you feel confident. If there's a topic that you really enjoy, you can spend extra time on it. If something is too easy, you can skip ahead. It's all about learning in a way that works best for you.
And Julia, let's not forget one of my favorite things about self-learning. You get to choose what you want to learn. In a traditional class, you often have to follow a fixed curriculum, which might not always match your interests or goals. But when you're studying on your own, the whole world of English is open to you. Love cooking? You can learn English by watching cooking videos or reading recipes. Into sports? Watch interviews with athletes or read articles about your favorite teams. Interested in traveling? Focus on travel vocabulary and phrases. The freedom to choose topics that excite you keeps learning fun and interesting, which is so important for staying motivated. You know, Julia, this reminds me of a time when I had to teach myself something completely new. It wasn't English, but it was still a great learning experience. A few years ago, I decided I wanted to learn photography. At first, I thought, I should probably take a class, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized I could try learning on my own. So, I started small. I watched free tutorials online, read blog posts, and practiced taking photos with my phone. I made so many mistakes at first. My pictures were blurry, or the lighting was all wrong. But because I was learning on my own, I didn't feel embarrassed. I could take my time, experiment, and improve little by little. I'll never forget the moment when I realized how far I'd come. I was on vacation, and I took a photo of a sunset that was so beautiful, a friend asked if I had taken a photography class. That's when I knew self-learning really works. The best part was that I learned not just photography, but also how to be patient with myself, how to keep going even when it's hard, and how to enjoy the process of learning. So, if I could teach myself something like photography, I know anyone can learn English on their own too.
Adam, that's such a great story. I think it really highlights one of the most important benefits of self-learning, which is that it helps you build discipline and independence. When you're learning on your own, there's no teacher or class pushing you to study. You have to take responsibility for your progress, which can feel challenging at first but is also incredibly rewarding. Every time you sit down to practice English or complete a lesson, you're not just improving your language skills, you're also developing habits that will help you in other areas of your life. And it's not just about discipline. Self-learning also teaches you to solve problems and think creatively. For example, if you're struggling to understand a grammar rule, you might look for videos, articles, or even examples in books to help you figure it out. You're teaching yourself to be resourceful, which is such an important skill in today's world. Plus, when you finally understand something you've been working on, the sense of achievement is so much greater because you know you did it all by yourself. It's such a confidence boost.
Absolutely, Julia. Self-learning is like a double win. You're learning English, and at the same time, you're learning how to learn, which is a skill you can use for anything in life. It's all about taking control and believing in your ability to grow.
And that's why we're so passionate about this topic. Self-learning isn't just a way to learn English. It's a way to discover your strengths, build your confidence, and prove to yourself that you're capable of amazing things.
Now that we've talked about why self-learning is so effective, let's dive into the tools and resources that can help you succeed. Learning English without a teacher might sound overwhelming at first, but the truth is, there are so many incredible tools available today to make it easier, fun, and even exciting. Let's start with technology and apps, which have completely changed the way people learn languages.
Absolutely, Adam. Technology has opened up so many opportunities for learning English, and the best part is, you can access many of these tools right from your phone or computer. Let's talk about some of the most popular apps that learners can use to improve their English vocabulary and grammar. For example, Duolingo is a fantastic app for beginners. It's free, easy to use, and it turns learning into a game. You can practice new words, phrases, and even sentences, all while earning points and rewards. It makes studying feel less like work and more like fun.
Yes, and there's also Babbel, which is great for learning practical conversations. Babbel focuses on teaching you phrases and sentences that you can use in real-life situations, like ordering food, introducing yourself, or asking for directions. It's especially helpful for people who want to build confidence in speaking English. Another app I love is Memrise. It's unique because it uses videos of native speakers to teach you how words and phrases are used in everyday life. Plus, it has a lot of interactive exercises to help you remember what you've learned.
And let's not forget about YouTube. There are so many amazing YouTube channels dedicated to teaching English, including our very own The English Globe. On our channel, we share simple, easy-to-follow lessons that help you improve step by step. You can learn grammar, practice pronunciation, and even explore fun topics like English idioms or cultural tips. And the best thing about YouTube? It's completely free. All you need is an internet connection and a little time.
That's right, Julia. YouTube is an incredible resource, not just for lessons, but also for listening to native speakers. Watching videos in English, whether they're lessons, interviews, or even travel vlogs, can help you get used to the way English sounds in real conversations. And don't be afraid to pause, rewind, and replay as many times as you need. That's one of the big advantages of learning with technology. You're in control of how and when you learn. Now, let's move on to books and online resources. Reading is one of the best ways to improve your vocabulary and understanding of English. And you don't have to start with complicated novels or long articles. Simple books, like children's stories or beginner-level readers, are perfect for building your skills. For example, you could start with classic fairy tales or short stories that use basic language. As you get more comfortable, you can move on to slightly more challenging books.
Yes, and if you're not ready to tackle books yet, you can start with online articles or blogs. There are countless websites where you can find interesting and easy-to-read content in English. For example, if you're interested in travel, you could read travel blogs. If you like cooking, there are plenty of websites with simple recipes written in English. Reading about topics you enjoy makes the process much more engaging.
And don't forget about dictionaries and translation tools. A good dictionary, whether it's a physical book or an app, is one of the most valuable resources you can have. For example, apps like Google Translate or Merriam-Webster can help you understand new words and phrases. Some even let you hear the pronunciation so you can practice saying the words correctly. But here's a tip. Try not to rely too much on translations. Instead, challenge yourself to understand the meaning of new words through context whenever you can.
That's a great point, Adam. Another useful resource is flashcards, which you can create yourself or use apps like Anki or Quizlet. Flashcards are an excellent way to memorize vocabulary, especially if you review them regularly. And the process of making your own flashcards can actually help you learn, because you're actively engaging with the material. Next up, let's talk about listening practice. Listening is such an important part of learning any language because it helps you understand how the language is spoken in real life. And there are so many ways to practice listening in English. For example, podcasts, like this one, are a fantastic resource. You can find podcasts on almost any topic, from English lessons to storytelling, news, or even interviews with interesting people. Just listening to native speakers can help you get used to the rhythm, intonation, and pronunciation of English.
Exactly. And if you prefer something more structured, you can try audiobooks. Many audiobooks are available for free online, especially for classic books that are in the public domain. Listening to audiobooks while following along with the text can be a powerful way to improve both your listening and reading skills at the same time.
And don't forget about music. Listening to English songs is not only enjoyable but also a great way to learn new words and phrases. Plus, when you sing along, you're practicing your pronunciation without even realizing it. Choose songs with clear lyrics and look them up if you don't understand something. It's such a fun way to learn.
Finally, let's talk about speaking, which is often the most challenging part of learning a language. One of the simplest ways to practice speaking is to talk to yourself in English. It might feel a little strange at first, but it's a great way to build confidence. For example, you can describe what you're doing while cooking or cleaning, or you can pretend to have a conversation with someone. The key is to get comfortable forming sentences out loud.
Yes, and when you're ready to practice with others, there are apps like HelloTalk or Tandem, where you can connect with language partners from around the world. These apps are great because they let you practice speaking with native speakers or other learners in a friendly, supportive environment. And you can even help them learn your language in return. It's a win-win.
Another option is joining online language exchange groups or forums. Many learners are looking for speaking partners, and it's a great way to make friends while improving your English. If you're shy, you can start with text chats and then move to voice or video calls when you feel more comfortable.
And remember, the most important thing is to practice regularly. Even just 5 to 10 minutes a day can make a big difference over time. So don't worry about being perfect. Just focus on making progress, one step at a time.
All right, everyone, now that we've covered why self-learning is so effective and explored the incredible tools and resources available, let's move on to an equally important part: how to make self-learning work for you. Learning a language on your own requires more than just access to resources. You need strategies and habits to stay on track and make progress. So, in this segment, we're going to share some essential tips for effective self-learning. Let's start with setting clear goals.
Setting clear goals is one of the most important steps in your self-learning journey. Without clear goals, it's easy to feel lost or overwhelmed because you don't know where to focus your energy. So start by asking yourself, what do I want to achieve? For example, do you want to improve your vocabulary? Or are you more focused on understanding grammar rules? Maybe you want to work on your speaking and conversation skills. Whatever it is, write it down. Having a clear idea of what you want to learn helps you stay organized and motivated.
That's so true, Julia. And it's important to make your goals specific and realistic. Instead of saying, I want to be fluent in English, break it down into smaller, achievable goals like, I want to learn 10 new words this week, or I want to practice speaking for 5 minutes every day. These smaller goals are less intimidating, and they give you a sense of accomplishment when you achieve them. And don't forget to set a deadline. For example, if you're learning vocabulary, decide how many words you want to learn in a month and track your progress.
Exactly, Adam. And remember, your goals can evolve over time. Maybe you start with improving your vocabulary, but later you realize you want to focus on pronunciation. That's perfectly okay. The key is to stay flexible and adjust your goals as you grow and learn. And one last tip, share your goals with a friend or family member. When someone else knows about your goals, it adds a layer of accountability and encouragement.
Now, let's talk about creating a study schedule. One of the biggest challenges of self-learning is staying consistent, especially when you're busy with work, school, or other responsibilities. That's why having a study schedule is so important. It helps you set aside dedicated time for learning, so it becomes part of your daily routine.
Yes, and you don't need to spend hours studying every day. In fact, short, focused sessions are often more effective than long, tiring ones. For example, you could dedicate just 20 to 30 minutes a day to learning English. During that time, you might focus on one specific activity, like practicing vocabulary, listening to a podcast, or writing a short journal entry in English. The key is to make it a habit, something you do every day without even thinking about it.
That's right. And to make it easier, try to study at the same time every day. Maybe it's in the morning before you start your day, or in the evening before you go to bed. Having a consistent time helps your brain get into a routine, so you're less likely to skip it. And don't forget to plan your sessions in advance. For example, decide ahead of time what you're going to study each day. This way, you won't waste time figuring out what to do, and you'll make the most of your learning time.
Another tip is to use reminders. Set an alarm on your phone or write it down in your planner. A simple reminder can be all it takes to stay on track, especially when life gets busy. And remember, it's okay to adjust your schedule if something comes up. The important thing is to stay committed and get back to your routine as soon as you can.
Speaking of commitment, practicing daily is one of the best things you can do for your English learning journey. Even if it's just for a few minutes, regular practice helps you retain what you've learned and build on it. So, let's talk about some practical ways to incorporate daily practice into your routine.
One great way to practice daily is by keeping a journal. Writing a few sentences or even a paragraph in English every day helps you improve your grammar, vocabulary, and writing skills. You don't need to write anything fancy. Just talk about your day, your plans, or your thoughts. For example, you could write, "Today I went to the market. I bought apples and oranges. It was a sunny day." It's simple, but it's effective.
And if you're not into journaling, another option is to record yourself speaking. For example, you could record a short message where you introduce yourself, describe your favorite hobby, or talk about your goals. Listening to your recordings later can help you identify areas where you need to improve, like pronunciation or fluency. Plus, it's a great way to track your progress over time.
That's a great tip, Adam. And don't forget about reading and listening practice, which we mentioned earlier. Reading a short article or listening to a podcast in English every day can make a huge difference over time. The important thing is to stay engaged with the language, even if it's just for a few minutes.
Finally, let's talk about consistency and patience. Learning a language is not something that happens overnight. It takes time, effort, and a lot of practice. That's why it's so important to be consistent, even when you don't see immediate results.
That's right, Adam. Consistency is what helps you build a strong foundation. Think of it like planting a tree. At first, you might not see much progress, but with regular care and attention, it starts to grow stronger and taller. The same is true for learning English. Every small effort you make adds up over time, even if it doesn't feel like it in the moment.
And don't be too hard on yourself if you make mistakes or if you feel stuck. Mistakes are a natural part of learning. In fact, they're actually a good thing because they show you what you need to work on. So, be patient with yourself and celebrate your progress no matter how small it may seem.
And remember, everyone learns at their own pace. Some people might pick up new words quickly, while others might take longer. That's okay. The important thing is to keep going and not give up. If you stay consistent and patient, you'll get there eventually.
So, to sum up, set clear goals, create a study schedule, practice daily, and most importantly, stay consistent and patient. With these tips, you'll be well on your way to mastering English, even without a teacher.
Exactly. Learning a language on your own might be challenging, but it's also incredibly rewarding. And remember, we're here to support you every step of the way. Keep learning, keep practicing, and most importantly, keep believing in yourself.
All right, everyone. Now that we've explored tips and strategies for self-learning, let's dive into something that all learners face at some point: challenges. Learning a language on your own isn't always smooth sailing, and it's perfectly normal to encounter obstacles along the way. In this segment, we'll talk about common problems you might face, how to stay motivated when things get tough, and where to find help when you're stuck. Let's start with the challenges.
Learning English on your own can be exciting at first, but as time goes on, you might face some common problems. One big challenge is feeling unmotivated. For example, you might start a new learning app or book with lots of energy, but after a few weeks you lose interest or forget to study. It's completely normal, but it's important to address it so you can keep going.
Yes, and another challenge is dealing with grammar. English grammar can be tricky because there are so many rules, and sometimes those rules seem to have exceptions. For example, you might wonder why we say, "I go to the store," but "he goes to the store." It can feel confusing and frustrating, especially if you're trying to figure it out on your own.
Another common issue is feeling overwhelmed by how much there is to learn. Vocabulary, grammar, speaking, listening, reading, there's a lot to focus on, and it's easy to feel like you're not making any progress. But remember, It's all about taking small steps. We'll talk more about how to handle this in the next part.
Now let's talk about motivation. Staying motivated is one of the biggest challenges for self-learners, but it's also one of the most important things to work on. One way to stay motivated is to reward yourself for small achievements. For example, if you learn 10 new words this week, treat yourself to something you enjoy, like watching your favorite movie or eating your favorite snack.
That's a great tip, Adam. And another way to stay motivated is to track your progress. For example, keep a journal where you write down the new words or phrases you've learned. Over time, you'll be able to look back and see how far you've come. Seeing your progress, even in small steps, can be incredibly motivating.
And don't forget to celebrate your progress, no matter how small it seems. Did you have your first conversation in English? Even if it was just saying hello or how are you? That's a win. Celebrate it. Did you finish a chapter in your English book? That's another win. Celebrating these small victories helps you stay positive and motivated.
Absolutely. And here's another tip. Find a way to connect your learning to something you love. For example, if you're a fan of cooking, try learning English recipes or watching cooking shows in English. If you love music, listen to English songs and try to understand the lyrics. When you enjoy what you're learning, it doesn't feel like work. It feels like fun.
And finally, remember why you started learning English in the first place. Maybe it's to get a better job, travel the world, or talk to new people. Keep that reason in your mind as your motivation. Whenever you feel unmotivated, remind yourself of your goals and why they're important to you.
Even with all the motivation in the world, there will be times when you feel stuck or confused. Maybe you're struggling to understand a grammar rule, or you don't know how to pronounce a word. When that happens, don't be afraid to ask for help. One great place to find help is online forums like Reddit or Quora. There are communities dedicated to English learners where you can ask questions and get answers from people all around the world.
Yes, and social media can also be a great place to find help. There are many English learning groups on Facebook, Telegram, or WhatsApp where learners and teachers share tips and resources. You can ask questions like, what's the difference between I have been and I had been? And someone is likely to answer. It's a great way to connect with others and learn from their experiences.
Another option is to use language exchange apps like HelloTalk or Tandem. These apps connect you with native speakers or other learners who can help you. For example, you could ask your language partner, how do I use this phrase in a sentence? And they can explain it to you. It's also a great way to practice speaking and build confidence.
And if you're looking for more structured help, consider joining online courses or watching YouTube channels like ours, The English Globe. Many channels offer free lessons on grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, and more. If you're stuck on something specific, chances are there's a video or article that can help you understand it.
Lastly, don't underestimate the power of self-research. Use tools like Google or online dictionaries to look up answers to your questions. For example, if you're not sure how to use a word, search for example sentences online. There's so much information available, and with a little effort, you can often find exactly what you need.
So, to recap, overcoming challenges is all about recognizing the problems you're facing, staying motivated, and knowing where to find help. Whether it's through online communities, apps, or even just rewarding yourself for small wins, there are plenty of ways to keep moving forward.
And remember, challenges are a normal part of learning. They don't mean you're failing, they mean you're growing. So don't give up. Keep pushing through, and you'll come out stronger and more confident on the other side.
Exactly. And remember, you're not alone. There's a whole world of learners out there who are on the same journey as you. Together, we can all succeed. Now that we've talked about overcoming challenges and finding ways to stay motivated, it's time to put everything into practice. As we always say, learning is most effective when you actually use the language. So, for this part of the podcast, we're going to do a fun and interactive practice activity. Don't worry, you can do this whether you're sitting at home, walking in the park, or even on the bus.
That's right, Adam. Practicing regularly is one of the best ways to improve your English skills, and we're here to guide you step by step. So, grab a notebook and a pen, or just use your voice. And let's begin. This activity will help you think in English and express yourself. Remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. The goal is to try. All right, let's start with something simple and relatable. I want you to think about how you spend your day. What do you do when you wake up in the morning? What activities do you do during the day? For example, do you drink coffee, go to work, or study? Now, I'd like you to say or write a few sentences about your daily routine in English.
Here's how it works. We'll give you an example, and then we'll pause for a moment so you can think about your own sentences. You can write them down in your notebook or say them out loud. And remember, there's no right or wrong answer here. The goal is just to practice forming sentences and thinking in English.
For instance, you could say something like, in the morning I wake up at 7 o'clock, then I brush my teeth, eat breakfast and get ready for work. I usually take the bus to my office and it takes about 30 minutes. It doesn't have to be complicated. Just try to describe what you do in simple words.
Okay, let's pause for a moment here. Take your time to think about your day. What do you do in the morning, afternoon, and evening? If you're not sure how to say something, use the words you know and keep it simple. Go ahead, and we'll wait for you.
Now that you've thought about your day, let's share an example to give you an idea of how your sentences could sound. Here's what I might say about my day. In the morning, I wake up at 6:30. I make a cup of tea and sit by the window to enjoy the fresh air. After that, I do some light exercise and take a quick shower. Around 8 o'clock, I have breakfast, which is usually toast and eggs. Then, I spend the rest of my morning working on my projects. That's just a simple way to describe my routine. What about you, Adam? What does your day look like?
Great question, Julia. Here's how I would describe my day. My day starts at 7 a.m. I turn off my alarm and check my phone for messages. Then, I go to the kitchen and make coffee. It's the first thing I do every morning. I usually eat a small breakfast, like cereal or fruit, and then I start my work. I work from home, so I spend most of the day on my computer, writing or attending meetings online. In the evening, I like to relax by reading a book or watching a movie. That's how I'd describe my day. Now, listeners, how does your day compare to ours? Did you find it easy or difficult to talk about your daily routine in English?
If you found it challenging, don't worry. The key is to keep practicing. Over time, it will get easier. And remember, even if your sentences were short or had mistakes, you've already taken a big step by trying. Each time you practice, you're improving.
One great way to make this activity even more helpful is to repeat it every day. Each morning or evening, take 5 minutes to describe your day in English. You could even record yourself speaking and listen to it later to see how you're improving. If you don't like speaking, writing works just as well.
And if you're feeling brave, share your sentences with someone else. Maybe you have a friend who's also learning English, or you could post your sentences in an online English learning group. Getting feedback from others can help you learn faster and gain confidence.
Exactly. And don't forget, you don't have to do this activity alone. If you're listening to this podcast with a friend or family member, try practicing together. Take turns describing your day in English and help each other with any tricky words or phrases.
So, here's your homework. After this podcast, take a few minutes to write or say a paragraph about your day. Focus on using the words and grammar you already know, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. Every effort counts, and we're here to cheer you on.
That wraps up our practice activity for today. We hope this exercise helps you build confidence in expressing yourself in English. Remember, practice makes progress, and every little step you take brings you closer to your goal of fluency.
Absolutely. And if you want to share your sentences with us, feel free to reach out on our social media pages or leave a comment on the English Globe YouTube channel. We'd love to hear from you and help you along your journey.
Now that we've explored the tools, resources, and practice activities for learning English without a teacher, let's shift our focus to something that's absolutely essential for successful self-learning: building a self-learning routine. Creating a solid routine is key to maintaining momentum in your English journey. Think of it like setting the foundation for a house. Without a strong foundation, everything else can feel shaky. And when it comes to learning a language, the foundation you build is what will support your progress day by day, week by week, and month by month. A consistent routine ensures that you stay engaged, and it gives you the discipline to practice regularly, which is critical to mastering a new language. So, let's break it down into smaller, manageable steps.
Exactly, Adam. The beautiful thing about self-learning is that you can tailor your routine to fit your personal preferences, your lifestyle, and your goals. You're the one in charge. But it's important to understand that your routine should be structured in a way that doesn't overwhelm you. Instead of feeling stressed about trying to study for hours every day, focus on small, achievable tasks that you can handle without pressure. And remember, it's about consistency, not perfection. Even dedicating just 10 to 20 minutes a day to study English will add up in the long run. So don't feel like you have to spend hours at a time in order to make progress. The first tip when you're building a routine is to start small. It might seem tempting to plan for long, intensive study sessions right from the start, but starting small is key to avoiding burnout. You don't need to sit down and study for 2 hours straight every day. In fact, trying to do so might make you feel overwhelmed, especially if you have a busy schedule. So, think of your study time as a small investment. Start with just 10 minutes a day. Whether it's learning 5 new vocabulary words, practicing your pronunciation, or listening to an English podcast. These small steps might seem insignificant at first, but over time, they'll lead to major progress. As you become more comfortable, you can gradually increase the amount of time you dedicate to English, but don't feel pressured to do so right away. The key is to get into the habit of practicing regularly.
You're absolutely right, Julia. I made the mistake of starting too big when I was learning French. I would plan for long study sessions, thinking it would help me improve faster, but instead, I ended up feeling exhausted and discouraged after a few weeks. Once I realized that learning in small, consistent bursts worked better, I felt much more confident in my ability to learn and retain information. It was through those small, manageable sessions that I started to build a stronger connection to the language. So if you start small, you're setting yourself up for success in the long term. Don't underestimate the power of taking those baby steps. Another important aspect of building a routine is scheduling your study time. In order to form a lasting habit, it's crucial to designate specific times during the day to practice English. You might have a busy day with work, school, or family responsibilities, so it's essential to find pockets of time when you can focus on your language learning. Are you a morning person who feels energized and focused in the early hours? If so, this could be a great time to study before your day gets too busy. On the other hand, if you're more of a night owl, you might find that your evenings are quieter and more conducive to learning. The key here is to decide when you're at your best, and then commit to that time consistently.
I completely agree, Adam. When I was learning Italian, I used to try to study whenever I had a free moment, but that approach didn't always work. Some days, I would study in the morning, other days in the afternoon, and sometimes late at night. It felt random, and I couldn't track my progress as easily. After realizing that a routine works much better, I started to study at the same time every day, even if it was just for 20 minutes. Over time, I began to look forward to that part of my day. It became my dedicated me time for English practice, and that consistency made all the difference.
Scheduling is so important. When you set aside time for learning, it becomes part of your daily rhythm. So, make it a non-negotiable part of your day, like eating or sleeping. And if something unexpected comes up and you miss your study session, don't get discouraged. Just make sure to get back to it the next day. The more you stick to a routine, the easier it will become.
Another great tip for making your learning routine both effective and enjoyable is to combine different types of activities. This keeps things fresh and prevents monotony. For example, let's say you start your day with a quick review of vocabulary using an app or flashcards. Then, maybe you move on to a short video lesson on YouTube or a podcast, like the one you're listening to right now. to improve your listening skills. After that, you could write a short paragraph about your day in English or record yourself speaking on a topic. By combining different activities like reading, writing, listening, and speaking, you'll improve your skills in all areas of the language while keeping things exciting.
That's an excellent suggestion, Julia. Variety is key. When I was learning Italian, I would dedicate each day to a different skill. Mondays were for listening, Tuesdays for speaking, Wednesdays for grammar, and so on. This helped me stay organized while still allowing me to focus on improving every aspect of the language. You can mix it up even more by including fun activities, like watching English TV shows or playing language learning games. The more fun you have with your routine, the more likely you are to stick to it.
Tracking your progress is another important part of building a self-learning routine. It's easy to feel like you're not making any progress, especially when you're learning on your own. But when you track what you've done, you'll be able to see how much you've learned. You could keep a language journal where you write down new words or phrases you've learned each day. Or you could use an app to record your study time and keep a log of what you've accomplished. Another idea is to record yourself speaking every few weeks and then listen to the recordings to see how much your pronunciation has improved. By tracking your progress, you'll not only feel more motivated, but you'll also be able to celebrate your improvements no matter how small.
Exactly. When I started learning Spanish, I used to feel like I wasn't getting anywhere. But after a few months, I looked back at my notes, and I realized I had learned hundreds of new words and phrases. That moment was so rewarding. Progress isn't always about learning something new. It's also about refining what you already know. Even if it's just mastering a difficult pronunciation or understanding a tricky grammar rule, those small wins matter.
Lastly, it's important to stay flexible. Life is unpredictable, and there will be times when you can't follow your routine exactly as planned. Maybe you're too tired after a long day at work, or something unexpected comes up. That's okay. The key is to be adaptable and not give up entirely. If you can't follow your usual study time, look for other moments in your day to practice, whether it's listening to an English podcast while cooking or writing down some new vocabulary while commuting. The goal is to keep your learning going, no matter what.
And remember, even though building a routine is essential, it's just one part of the equation. Be patient with yourself. Language learning is a long-term process, and consistency is what will lead you to success. The more you commit to your routine, the more natural it will feel over time.
So, to recap, start small, plan your study time, combine different activities, track your progress, and stay flexible. By following these steps, you'll be able to create a sustainable self-learning routine that works for you.
Exactly. Stick with it, and you'll be amazed at the progress you'll make. Your journey toward learning English is unique, and the routine you create will help guide you to success.
We hope this segment has inspired you to create your own self-learning routine. Remember, consistency is key, and every small step you take brings you closer to your goal.
Well, here we are at the end of today's episode, and I'm really excited about everything we've covered. We talked in depth about a variety of tools and resources that can help you learn English without a teacher. We explored some of the most effective apps and websites, discussed how you can integrate listening and speaking practice into your daily routine, and we even shared tips for staying motivated and overcoming obstacles that may come up along the way. No matter where you're starting from, we hope that these insights will help you feel more equipped and confident to take charge of your learning process.
And yes, that's right, Adam. We've also discussed the importance of building a learning routine that works for your lifestyle. We know that learning English on your own can be challenging, but with the right tools, consistency, and a little patience, it's completely achievable. We really hope that after listening to this episode, you feel more confident and ready to embark on your own self-learning journey. Whether you're just starting out or have been practicing for a while, remember it's all about progress, not perfection.
If you're feeling inspired and ready to get started, make sure to subscribe to the English Globe so you don't miss any future episodes. We're here to support you every step of the way on your English learning journey. And we'd love to hear from you. If you've already started learning on your own, or if you have any questions or challenges you're facing, feel free to share them in the comments. We love hearing your progress, and your experiences might inspire someone else too.
Absolutely. Whether you're struggling with grammar or looking for the best resources, we're always happy to answer your questions and help you along the way. And don't forget, our community here at the English Globe is a great place to share tips and learn from each other's experiences. So go ahead and share your thoughts in the comments below.
Thank you all for tuning in to today's episode. We hope you found the information helpful and that you feel motivated to continue on your English learning path. It's been such a pleasure to talk with you about these strategies, and we're excited to be part of your learning journey. In our next episode, we'll be diving into some advanced techniques for improving your English fluency, and we'll have some exciting guest speakers who will share their own insights on mastering the language. We can't wait for you to join us. Oin.
Thanks again for listening. Take care, keep practicing, and remember, you've got this. Until next time, happy learning.